Okay, good morning everybody. On the trail, getting it in, getting the walk in, and inspiration for today. I was thinking about, obviously, forgiveness. I'm still in that, layers of forgiveness. And at the same time, I was also thinking about, a type, and that sometimes we need to understand a type of, a type of person so that we can be prepared to, safeguard ourselves against what is out there, okay? And so I wanted to talk about that a little bit. And that is that, going downhill, so hang on here a second, okay? Now, all right, so what I'm getting at is that when we are talking to someone and we are trying to discern whether or not this person that has come into our life is someone that can be trusted, there are normal protocols that one would go through in order to establish and determine whether or not someone is trustworthy. And, whether it could go by different names, but again, I'm talking about boundaries. I'm talking about discernment. I'm talking about seeing if somebody's words match up with their behavior. And all of those things, are going to take some time to discover whether or not a person is who they say that they are. And the reason I'm bringing this up is that when you have a history with someone, let's say, you knew them when you were a teenager, or you knew them when you went to college, or what have you, then you're not looking at this person that comes into your life necessarily as someone who's, quote, a stranger. You're looking at someone who you've already known at a different period in your life as re-entering your life. Therefore, you already had a history or an experience of who that person was at a different time period. And then when you see them again, obviously, you're listening to their words, you're looking at their actions, you're seeing, does this stuff line up? Is this person someone that I can trust? Is this person someone who is authentic? Is this person somebody that I feel safe with, okay? And this is what I want to talk about in terms of narcissism, in terms of addicts and active addiction, and what they do to deceive you, okay? So, I believe that Eric must have studied what was out there about me in terms of what information was on the internet. I believe that he had, studied what I was into, what things I had that were like, major pushes or push your button type of things, whatever. I think that he really did his research, okay? And I think he also found ways to, when we started to date, to get into my network of people and to ask the right questions. And again, people were caught off guard with his questions, and then he would probe until he would get whatever answer he wanted. But because I was not witness to those conversations, I had no idea that the probing or the manipulation was going on until after he died. And then some of these people in my life would then come forward to me and say, it was really weird when Eric asked me these questions. And I'm like, what questions? And then they started to proceed with the way that he asked these questions, the type of questions that he asked, and the fact that it was just strange, and that you have to ask the question, why? What was his motive for wanting to know the answers to those questions? And the answer is very simple. His motives were for evil, period. His motives were for evil. So I'm trying to point a type to you so that you can see that a person who is a narcissist or a person who is an addict in active addiction, their entire lifetime is based on lies and what they can do to manipulate people to get what they want. And they're such masters at hiding their trails that they really have such just a clever cover-up system that you don't even know that it's going on to you, to your family, to your friends, to your community, because they are so clever and cunning at what they do. Okay? Remember, the devil comes only to lie, kill, steal, and destroy, period. So if the things that a narcissist or an addict in active addiction are doing appear to have the lying, stealing, killing, destroying motives, then most likely that's what they're doing. And if you can catch it before it becomes, in your face or after the fact, like in my situation, the better off you're gonna be if you can create an exit plan now instead of finding yourself in more difficult circumstances. And again, an addict in active addiction and a narcissist, their whole agenda is to get more drugs, to get their sensual needs and their five senses met at any risk, at any cost, and all they want to do is preserve themselves. They don't care about you as a person. They don't care about the relationship. And whatever things they do, they're saying these things to manipulate the situation. It has nothing to do with all the fake evidence that they've provided, because they're providing the fake evidence because what they want to do is get some more drugs, and they want to, be on the upper hand of being able to, quote, control the situation with manipulating all the power plays that are in place. Now, I'm going to speak real briefly about how they steal from you, okay? Some people may take everything all at once, okay? That might be their method. But a clever person is going to only take a little bit at a time so that you're not even going to notice. And it would be like this. Eric had his own ears pierced, and he had nose jewelry and whatever. And so all of a sudden I'd look at, him, and he would have on my jewelry. And I'd be like, that looks really similar to my gold hoop earrings. And he'd be like, oh yeah, I'm wearing it. And I'm like, when did you get that? Oh, I got it out of your, I got it out of your jewelry box. What's yours is mine, right? I mean, we're getting married. Shouldn't we? Everything is, is shareable. And he kept pushing my buttons of compassion and sharing, and if it, I should be willing because, and then I'd be like, look, I'm not in agreement to this. Those particular earrings were given to me as a gift from my mom, and I don't want to take the risk of losing them. And you have a tendency to lose things, so no, take them out right now. And in that moment, he would make a big stink about how I was how I was a selfish person, and that he was unselfish because I wouldn't share my earrings, okay? And again, in the moment, while he's doing all this, I have a conference call in less than 5 minutes, I was trying to get myself ready for my conference call, and he's doing all this crazy 3-ring circus shit at a time when he knows I'm on a deadline, okay? And that's what narcissists do. They're doing shit to get a rise out of you on a deadline, okay? So, long story short, I would have my call, and then afterwards, he would flip the switch, and he'd be like, baby, how was your call? It sounded like you had a really nice call. And I'm like, sounded like? I'm like, Eric, when I'm on the phone with a client, like, that's confidential, private information. And when I say you need to leave the room and not be in ear's reach, I mean that. And again, it was like constantly having to reinforce boundaries about what was acceptable and what was not, and constantly having to do things to create layers of protection so that he would not. It was like a baby. He was like a baby, and I had to constantly tell him repeatedly over and over again. Now the point is, because of the way the NA sponsor network community is, I was getting back bullshit from the NA community. And I would talk to a sponsor and I'd be like, he violated A, B, and C. And he's messing with my time when I'm trying to work. And you're his sponsor. You need to correct him on this stuff. You need to man him up about what it means to be respectful. And I'm like, that's not my job. That's your job. And so then that sponsor would be like, I'm so sorry, Ann. I'm going to address that with him. You're right. That shouldn't be happening. So meanwhile, they're telling me, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm gonna get on his ass and ride his ass and show him that what he's doing is not appropriate. And then I get a phone call back from the sponsor saying, I handled it. He's good. He understands. He's remorseful, right? That's not gonna be a problem for you anymore. So this is where, again, I'm trying to illustrate to you that in the network of people that are in NA, and this I'm just gonna call it like a man's bros network, they're gonna protect their own, okay? And so what I mean by that is, if Eric's whining to his sponsor and his sponsor network, and he's going, Anne's such a bitch, she's not being nice, her bar that she has raised is so high for me, I can't do it, okay? And that's what he's telling them, okay? And then his NA brotherhood was basically going, Eric, man, you gotta man up, man. This is a good woman. You need to get your shit together. You want to keep a woman like that? You gotta do A, B, and C, okay? And then Eric would come back with all this remorse. This is what I mean about the narcissist and the addict who is such a manipulative master. He would come back confessing to me about what he did and how he really screwed up and how he was being so selfish, and that would I please forgive him because he was just having a bad day, and that, he doesn't know all this stuff because he's been a VIP musician, and, no one has ever held him to these types of accountability, bars, because, I can be such a bitch. So again, it was like he would confess and man up for what he was, quote, out of alignment with. And then in the same breath, he would be downing me for my boundaries and telling me how much of a bitch I am because I don't, my standards are so high and my standards are unrealistic. Now, here's the bottom line. The issue, okay, is that the network of Narcotics Anonymous and the community of Narcotics Anonymous, okay, plus the sponsors and the brothers within the network, given an opportunity, okay, here's the bottom line. If a guy's ass is on the line, okay, and he's being asked a straight up question, and the straight up question was, are you snorting your medication? Okay. And I addressed this with his sponsor, and I was like, I caught him snorting something. Snorting is not allowed. If you're going to take a pill, you're going to take it orally, and that's the end of it. Take it as directed by a doctor. No snorting, no injecting, no this. If that's all bringing up his bad behavior, and that's not allowable. So address it and get it cleared up, because the next time I see it, that's it. Like, boundaries, okay? And the point is, the bros in the brotherhood would then cover up Eric's trail, because they're like, man, she's such a bitch. She doesn't understand this NA shit. It's gonna take like 5 years for Eric to get his shit together. And what are we in, like year 2? Like, she's not being patient. Like, oh no, when you truly surrender to Jesus and you are totally in a state of surrender, God is gonna wrap up that shit and take away the desire. However, if you're not in a total surrender, then you're holding back and you're still in some type of active addiction, then you're not in a state of surrender. You're still being managed and ruled by devils and demons and spirits and imps. You're not in surrender, and you're not under the blessings of God if you are still holding back and trying to run your own program in your ego, thinking that you can just have a little bit of cocaine, or you can just have a little bit of crack, or you could just have a little bit of oxy, because you know what, it's not a big deal in the grand scheme of things, which is the I don't know what you call it. It's like a minimizing that addicts do. They minimize, okay? And the point is, I would address these things front head on with the authorities in the treatment centers. I would address this head on with Eric's sponsors, and I'd be like, you guys deal with this shit, because the next time he's out, like, again, like, there's a boundary. Like, if you can't follow the rules, then you're not going to be under the blessings, period. And why should everybody else be sabotaged because, this person can't follow the rules and can't, follow the guidelines, which are set there in place to protect not just him, but everyone. And let's look at the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments are there to protect. And if you're under the commandments, then you are under God's blessings. If you're not paying attention and you're ignoring and you're going, I'm going to be a rebellious, jerk, and I'm going to do whatever the hell I feel like it, whenever I feel like it in my ego, then guess what? You're under Satan's rule and the devils and the demons. And every time you open a door, you're letting in 100 more spirits, 1,000 more spirits, 100 more spirits, 1,000 more spirits. And guess what? You're jacked up, and all those spirits are on you, on your back, in your head, bothering the shit out of you all the time. Yeah, go get one more. Go get some more drugs. You need it right now. That's what the spirits do. And you're going to just keep getting beaten down until you die, which is what happened in Eric's case, because he was listening to Satan's rule. He was not under God's blessing. He might have thought that he was with his words, but his actions and his lies were not. You've got to be in integrity with God, period. So anyway, I hope that helps to set some of you straight and to give you some examples of the types of behaviors and bullshit that addicts and active addiction and narcissists use to manipulate you. So beware, my friends. Pay attention. Learn how to become an observer.